this. I just need to find out what happened to David. I need to know.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 found footage horror film, Last Radio Call, a film that is written and directed by Isaac Rodriguez and it stars Sarah Froelich. Now this film is like a documentary style found footage film and it focuses on Sarah Froelich's character, who is called Sarah, who 1 year previously, her husband, who is a police officer, and you see this right at the beginning of the film, they go into this old abandoned asylum after hearing like noises and things like that. Him and his partner go in to investigate these noises, and then he goes missing basically. His wife wants to find out what happens. 12 months later, she gets like this documentary crew together and starts interviewing people, investigating, and what she finds out is something she will end up regretting. Right. What are my thoughts on Last Radio Call? Well, I say this every time I review a found footage film, but you guys know I'm a fan of found footage. Generally speaking, I always find they can be very, very effective if they're done properly. And while I do think there are aspects of this film that make it very messy, there are some good moments here if you are a fan of found footage. There are a couple of highlights here that will definitely shock and scare you. There's a couple of nice scary moments here in this film. The structure lets it down. There's other things that let it down, which ultimately feels like when you've finished watching this film, it's not kind of lived up to its potential, which I think is a real shame. But I did enjoy a huge aspect of this film. I thought much of it was quite decent. I do think the central character here, this Sarah, who's searching for her husband, at times she didn't behave like a normal person, and I think that was a big problem here with this film. Is they didn't do what a normal person would do. You know, I mean, this thing is supposed to feel like ultra real. Now, if I walked into a building to go and interview someone they just basically called me to go and interview them, so I turned up at their house to interview them, and they've killed themselves, they're dead on the couch, I would call the police and an ambulance quite quickly. She doesn't do any of this. She starts snooping about and stuff, and she barely even blinks an eye that this guy has killed himself. So it's just not normal human behaviour. You would not behave like that. And this character, this woman, Sarah, who, you know, wants answers in regards to her husband. As the film progresses and this escalates into something clearly paranormal, or later on in the film it kind of reveals it's got like a Native American origin, you know, all this paranormal stuff that's going off. Which kind of, again, muddies the water here a little bit, I found. I started losing interest when they started going on about this. But the more she learns, the more creeped out you think you would be. Doesn't seem like that at all to her, other than this documentary crew would like put up this writing periodically and say, Sarah refused to speak to us for 2 hours or 30 minutes. Maybe trying to portray that she was shocked or upset, but she never appeared really to be that shocked and upset. So for me, good found footage is you've got that raw human emotion of, and you look at some of the best found footage films out there, you know, when it really goes down there, you can feel that fear, you can feel them absolutely petrified, you know, and I never really got that here. Until really right at the end, because this film delivers in true found footage style right at the end of the film by going into the asylum. Now, to me, I could understand why this character Sarah would want to go into this asylum, but I absolutely could not understand why this documentary. It doesn't actually make it clear how many of them there are, but I'll say one who carried the camera, why he would go in there with her, because he's seen all this weird stuff going on. Number one, I wouldn't be going back at all to film any of this stuff after some of the stuff she's seen and been through. But I would not, in a million years, go anywhere near that asylum after all the information that's been uncovered, all the creepy stuff that's been going on. And he seems to just go in there, very happy to go in there with her. Again, not normal behaviour, but it's a found footage film. We need to get, the ending of the film, and the end of the film had to happen in the asylum, obviously. So it's got a bit of a Grave Encounters vibe going on with it. It's nowhere near in the same league as Grave Encounters, because that's my personal favourite found footage film. But I can see what it's going for, and it does have a couple of genuine scary moments or jump scares, whatever you want to call them. One of them is completely unearned, but it certainly made me jump. It's like when she goes to see this Native American guy, and he starts feeding her all this twaddle about this Native American origin and all this kind of stuff, and then creepy stuff starts happening. She drives off and she kind of gets grabbed by this claw thing. You're just kind of thinking, well, what is that? Where's that come from? You just kind of felt that was just staged just to get a cheap scare, which is another problem with this film. Too much of it felt staged. So while this film had potential, I think, and there were aspects of it that I did certainly enjoy from a found footage perspective, a fan of found footage, I think it tried to do too much. And what they ended up doing basically was muddying the waters and turning it into a little bit of a mess, when they actually could have potentially, if they'd have made it, slimmed it down a bit and just stuck to the basics, I think they had the foundations here for a much better found footage film. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy it, because I certainly did enjoy aspects of it, but it is definitely flawed. So I'm going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. Let me know if you've seen the film and what you thought of it, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.